Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, and welcome to another episode of Newsround for Anfield Index. It is Friday, the 25th of July, isn't it? We're just only a week or so away to Liverpool launch their new kit with Diaz. It's only, it's a Friday, isn't it? And the reason I say it's a Friday is Michael Edwards, Richard Hughes, they do like a Friday for sometimes a sign or sometimes a significant development. And I think that's where we're looking for at this stage. Because to be honest, yesterday, that was a hell of a day for all the various news concerned, wasn't it? So let's get into it, what we're looking ahead to this morning and today. And to be honest, of course, it's going to be dominated by one man in simple terms, because everything yesterday was about Alexander Isak, wasn't it? And shout out to Craig Hope there, because he sort of had the exclusive, all the news, all the details there. And he was the one to break the story that Alexander Isak was not travelling to Singapore. Now, Newcastle and Eddie Howe made a bit of a mess of this, didn't they? They kind of got caught out, I think it's fair to say, because the whole Celtic game where, I didn't want him on the sidelines to draw attention, it's become quite clear he was never going to go. Then he was doing individual training, wasn't he? And Eddie Howe said, that's right, it's recovery. And also Eddie Howe said he fully expects him to be on the trip to Singapore, where, as a lot of stories that have come out, that was never really going to be the case, wasn't it? Alexander Isak has made it quite clear to Newcastle that he wants to move away from the club. And as the inside story that he put out, that on Monday, he actually only trained for a few minutes and left the situation and has not trained since. So I get, in a way, what Newcastle have got to do and got to be careful and guarded, but they have been a little bit caught out here, haven't they? And then, amongst other things, we got the Ornstein bomb, didn't we? The official one that Isak wants to leave Newcastle United, the absence from the Celtic friendly, and Asia Tour is the 25-year-old's preference, i.e. it was his decision. Newcastle are keen for to stay, but exploring other potential options. And as to be fair, David Ornstein says, after Craig Hope, who got the real scoop there. And he kind of released the inside story there about Isak, didn't he? That apparently a lot of this is related to a Paul Mitchell decision around a contract and different bits that have infuriated him, ourselves being right there. And this is probably the big one to highlight, and a few have alluded to this. We're all waiting now for that British record offer, aren't we? And a lot of people are using that terminology. And I understand, because it's going to be 120 minimum. Big suggestions that it's going to be about 130 million or so that lands on Newcastle's desk. However, as a few have also called out and a few have written, there could still be a new deal. That suggestions that Isak has asked Newcastle for 300 grand a week. So there are, people believing that they could relent, he could accept that. This is all a ploy, all something around those lines. However, there's this from David Ornstein and others too. Newcastle United are exploring a move for Benjamin Sesko of Red Bull Leipzig in case Alexander Isak leaves. The 22-year-old forward subject of long-standing Newcastle interest and top target should Isak depart. But the deal is challenging from a financial perspective. Now, there's a funny thing about this when I see it. There's two targets clearly Newcastle are after, looking at Sesko and looking to bring in Visser from Brentford. I do think they'll get Visser done around the 35 million mark or so. Somewhere around that, we'll get it done. Visser's training away from the Brentford group, so he wants to go. It is challenging in terms of the wages Sesko would be asking, in terms of the total package, which suggestions it's around 60 to 70 million now, that release clause that Red Bull will be willing to relent to. However, it's not that challenging if you've got 130 million plus add-ons in the bank, is it, realistically? Because to be fair, if it is that 130 million, say, and you're getting Sesko for, say, 65, Bissett for around 35, you've still got 30 million quid to spend for. And you can't forget Newcastle were trying to get other players, weren't they, before in the window, but were just lowballing a bit. And now they get the striker. From a sporting perspective, this makes sense for them. But more importantly for us, it does feel like we're waiting for the next steps, that British record offer. And that's especially according to Kevin Laird. So shout out to Kev, who did that exclusive for Anfield Index. So we'll all await to see what develops on that. In terms of things happening in the Far East, the Reds have been busy, haven't they? I mean, one little look at the page, there's Robbo talking. And don't forget, even on Saturday, 12:30 is their match against AC Milan. Been loads of good footage, hasn't there, from the Far East? We've seen Florian Wirtz tearing up training, Rio Ungamoa embarrassing many a senior star. And also, Hugo Ekitike is there and in training. So it just all happened so fast almost, didn't it? And he's got forgotten. He's not actually done his official interview yet, Hugo Ekitike. So we await that at the same time. Other things that we mentioned on the transfer show yesterday, Rodrigo looks a no-go due to, as it stands, the wages, the financial package that it would require to do that deal. Malik Fofana, the Belgian youngster at Lyon, does seem to be the latest name that's expected. But again, certain things have to happen. Now, departures are going to be the call at one point as well. Almost feels like it's a concurrent house sale, as we said on the transfer show yesterday. As Fabrizio Romano tweeted, and not the first journalist by any means, Bayern's new proposal for Luis Diaz, which apparently sees becoming by, I don't know, carrier pigeon, snail mail, or whatever it is set to be sent soon, as it's been planned since last weekend. God, this has been planned and planned and planned. Liverpool are aware of the player's desire to leave the club, and talks will continue to discuss details of the financial package with Bayern. Now, there's been a lot of reporting, hasn't there, ladies and gents, that for Liverpool to be able to, or to want to sign Isak, it's Diaz to depart. And to be fair, there have got to be some departures at some stage, let's be clear, because we had 6 forwards last season. We brought in Ekitike. Wirtz could play there, 10 as well. We're not going to get into that debate just now. And we're wanting to bring in Isak. So we're not going to have 8 forwards, of course, next season, and a young Rio and Gamoa to make it 9 coming through. If they were to all happen, there's got to be departures. Now, with Diaz, there's various posturing and stuff going on from Bayern and the German side with suggestions that they're wanting to pay, 65, 70 million, somewhere around 80 million euros, which translates, isn't it, around 70 million. And even talk, as I'm sure many of you saw yesterday, around a sell-on clause, because Diaz, who will be 29, I think it is, in January, could well end up at Saudi. So I think we all expect this to happen. I think it's just a case of, can we get a move on with it all if it is going to happen? A name that kind of came freshly, and I don't know why people are mocking, again, India Kalia, the news this summer. Been ahead of the game for a while now, often first with a lot of things. And his latest, and a few others reported it as well, Simone Inzaghi, formerly at Inter, now the head coach at Al Hilal, has requested Al Hilal officials to sign Darwin Nunez. Now, it's all gone a little bit quiet on everything, Darwin, obviously since the skinhead, won't you? Just put the buzz cut and, whatever it is, goals in pre-season. But after the Napoli walkaway, it was a case of, well, who's going to pay the money? And could it just be all along that it's back to the Saudi bid? Now, yes, it was Al Nasser, important to say, wasn't it? in January who made that move for 70 million. Al Hilal have been looking for a striker for a while, haven't they? They tried to get Victor Osimhen. Yeah, it could just be perfect. If you get somewhere around 70 million for Darwin Nunez, if you can get somewhere around 70 million for Luis Diaz, that is Alexander Isak money right there in a dash, isn't it? Now, another party, and James Pearce did an article yesterday, so I do want to bring it up there. Harvey Elliott set for talks over his future, as he tweeted, and showing he will have enough game time to try and force his way into England's World Cup squad to key to whether he stays or goes. Now, fair play to Harvey. He's got all the right attitudes, hasn't he? He's come back early from his break. Obviously, he was with the England under-21s, the star man of the tournament, for England, the successful Euros there. Why shouldn't he be wanting to play first-team football? He is good enough to play. He's just not, and this is not meant derogatory in any way, the standard at Liverpool is now so high in that midfield. And also, by the way, in terms of people that can play number 10, which is probably Harvey's position, Florian Wirtz is there. That's not being derogatory. There's just levels to the game, as people say. Now, we mentioned on the transfer show, there's been interest in Harvey all summer, and West Ham look to really accelerate that with talks around, up to or somewhere around 50 million will get it done. However, they seem to be messing around a little bit, and now there's talk of they're wanting a loan with an option, all sorts of bits, which hasn't really impressed Liverpool, but we're going to have to see what develops on that. I mean, I hope he gets a move, because, and not just from the cynical side of he's homegrown, we book it as profit, or all those types of things. And yes, I know he came from Fulham Academy, but let's not get into that. But yeah, I think it would just be right for the player. And I know the article said he's now set for talks over his future, set to review it. That's just old news. Harvey Elliott is, he's a clever kid. He knows exactly the situation that is developing at Anfield with the additions of, attacking wise, Ekitike, potentially Isak, Florian Wirtz. He knows there's not going to be any real minutes there for him at all. Young Rio and Gamoa, they don't want to block his path, as we said, either. This is just one that should get done with someone for the best interest and all party. And it is a shame, because he's desperate to be a Liverpool player. He's got all the right attitudes. It's almost if you could put his heart and belief into other players, we'd have world beaters, no doubts at all. But yeah, we'll wait to see. Don't think it's going to be instant if anything develops for Harvey Elliott today. Probably not. I think we all know where our focus is going to be for one specific player. And just a quick scan, as normal, through Anfield Index and what's coming out. Again, the stories are about Harvey Elliott, but also Ibu. Yeah, there are reports that a few have put out, like Sasha, that Liverpool have offered a renewed contract. I can't say I have that personally. That would just be a complete lie. But what we did have at Anfield Index, as we mentioned on the transfer show, is suggestions that Liverpool are back talking with his agent, which is a positive. And it does seem like Ibu will stay this season, even if it is a free. At the end of this one, it's World Cup year, so, he needs to get that right for him as well. But Liverpool, more importantly, need to protect themselves. Yeah, we'll see what happens there. But it's positive. His agent, Liverpool, everyone is talking again. So we will take that as a good sign. And we should do, ladies and gents. Everything is a good sign at the moment. This transfer window, the whole way the Reds are moving, it is just unprecedented and like anything we've ever seen before. And we should be just buzzing with that fact. However, Friday tends to be, I'm saying tends to be, there's no guarantees, a good day in this window so far. We know about Wirtz and when that happened, the Kirkes developments. Let's see on Friday, the 25th of July, if we get any Isak or any further developments. But enjoy your day. Take care. I know we're going to be speaking soon.